The Israelites were enslaved in Egypt for generations, suffering under harsh conditions. God heard their cries for deliverance and sent Moses to confront Pharaoh with a message: "Let my people go, so they may worship me." But Pharaoh refused. His heart was hardened, and he would not release the Israelites. So, God sent a series of 10 plagues upon Egypt, each one more severe than the last, to demonstrate his power and to compel Pharaoh to let his people go. The first plague turned the Nile River into blood. The water became undrinkable, and fish died, but Pharaoh's heart remained hard. Next came the plague of frogs. Frogs swarmed the land, invading homes, beds, and kitchens. Still, Pharaoh would not relent. Then came the plague of gnats. Dust across Egypt turned into tiny biting insects that tormented people and animals alike. Pharaoh's magicians could not replicate this miracle, yet Pharaoh refused to listen. The fourth plague brought swarms of flies. They filled houses and covered the land, but God spared the region of Goshen, where the Israelites lived. Even so, Pharaoh's heart remained unmoved. The fifth plague struck the Egyptians' livestock. Horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, and goats died, while the Israelites' animals were untouched. Still, Pharaoh would not let the Israelites go. The sixth plague brought painful boils. They broke out on the skin of the Egyptians and their animals, causing great suffering. Yet Pharaoh's stubbornness endured. Then came the seventh plague, hail. A devastating storm of hail and fire rained down, destroying crops, trees, and everything left in the open. Pharaoh momentarily relented, but changed his mind once the storm ended. The eighth plague unleashed locusts. They devoured what little vegetation was left, leaving Egypt barren. Pharaoh begged for relief, but once again hardened his heart after the locusts were gone. Next, God sent the ninth plague, darkness. For 3 days, darkness covered Egypt so thick that no one could see or move. But the Israelites had light where they lived. Even this did not change Pharaoh's heart. Finally, the 10th plague was the most devastating. God warned that he would strike down the firstborn of every household in Egypt, from Pharaoh's palace to the poorest servant. But he gave the Israelites a way to be spared. They were to sacrifice a lamb and mark their doorframes with its blood. When the angel of death passed through Egypt, it would pass over the homes marked with the blood. That night, the firstborn of Egypt died, including Pharaoh's own son. The cries of grief echoed across the land. Pharaoh finally relented, telling Moses and the Israelites to leave Egypt immediately. The 10 plagues were a powerful demonstration of God's might and his determination to free his people. The story reminds us that God is faithful to his promises and will act to deliver his people, even in the face of great resistance.